Loving you, Corretti. Calling for you, Corretti. Missing you, Corretti. Loving you, Corretti. Hi everyone, good evening, and welcome to the Woman Experience with Goretti. I'm so glad again that you're on time, and I'm trying to drop this phone. Let me drop this phone. I have my cup of tea. I hope you have your cup of tea and you're ready for us to conclude this conversation. I just want to thank all those who are here. Sisha has joined, George, Batupe Josie, Mel Lafru, hi Mel, Shanti Afua, Rosemary, thank you guys so much for joining, for being on time as usual. That's my sister Rosemary. Mbole, welcome to the show. Yes, you're here, your guy is here. That's great. So if you haven't shared yet, can you just please share on your profile? That's the least you can do, so we get so many more people to join us tonight as we conclude this 4-part series on mental health within our community. So welcome, Eunice. Thank you so much for joining. I'll give you a minute and we'll start. And yeah, so just share. Our guest for tonight is backstage. He's ready to roll. I'm really excited about this. Welcome. Did you guys know that I have a song? Somebody sang a song, not from me though, but it's called Goretti, right? Tizi Panchak, that's what was playing. And I'm Goretti, so I've owned that song. So go and listen to that song, Tizi Panchak. The title is Goretti. So yeah, welcome. I'm sure we're ready to roll now. We're quite a few. So grab your cup of tea if you haven't, a cup of coffee if you haven't already, and let's start. So we are on the concluding part of our conversation. We have been talking about mental health for over 2 weeks now, and I'm really happy with the conversations that we have had and the angles that we have touched, because as like you and I know, mental health is inexhaustive, really. It's very, very broad. There's so many aspects, angles to it that you could tackle, but we chose to tackle from a completely different angle. So if you're watching this tonight just because Tres Catorce, or our guest of tonight, is your friend or he brought you here tonight, what we do here, you're very welcome to the Woman Experience with me, Goretti. I'm your host. What we do here every Wednesdays and Fridays at 8 p.m. is we try to create, which we have succeeded in creating, a community. We are a tribe, the Woman Experience Tribe, and what we do here every Wednesdays and Fridays at 8 p.m. on Facebook, that's 8 p.m. UK on Facebook, is we have a judgment-free zone for us to learn through our shared experiences. That's it. So I'm normally the host, and I have my main guest, who is the first guest, and then you who is watching on your phone, your tablet, your TV, computer, you are the second guest. And we are a very interactive community. So if you've got experiences to share with regards to the topic, if anybody poses a question and you think that you can help, you have an answer to that, you have a suggestion, you have a resource, you have an experience, you put it all out in the comments, we share in the comments, and then we learn from each other, and that's what we do. And if the guest poses a question, or if you have a question for the guest, feel free to just pose as you go along, and we'll make sure he reads it, and then we all take part in responding. That's what we do every Wednesdays and Fridays, 8 p.m. right now BST, which is summertime, on the Woman Experience with me, your host, Goretti. So thank you. Don't worry, I don't talk too much. This is just the intro. I'm going to get my guests here shortly. So mental health has historically been neglected within our African communities, and I'm sure especially Cameroon, at least for Cameroon, that I can speak of. And for me, and with the research I've done, I think we can sum it down to 3 main factors: ignorance of the extent to which mental illness can affect us, the stigmatization against those living with mental illness. And I think the mistaken belief that mental illnesses are supernatural, right? I'm sure you agree with me. So if you're new to our show, over the past 2 weeks, we've shared our experiences. We've learned from the professionals about mental health. We started on July 1st. We started with Mr. D.A. Tanyi. What Mr. D.A. Tanyi talked to us. He's a cognitive psychologist. He opened our show with an educative session on the functions of the brain, which was I'm sure we all really learned. He talked to us about the functions of the brain and how it controls and affects our emotions, which in turn affect our behavior. And then on July 3rd, which was a Friday, we had Mr. Ndoko Sankara, who called himself the traditionalist. And we had a very thought-provoking conversation on some of the external factors that cause mental health. So that was a really good conversation, right? Very controversial as well. This past Wednesday, our guest was on July 8th. We had psychotherapist, lawyer, and mental health advocate. Oh gosh, this, not him, her. We had psychotherapist, lawyer, and mental health advocate, Mag, as she prefers to be called, but on Facebook, she's known as Mari Abanga. And she joined us in a very blunt session. The conversation was said as it is, and some hard truths were spoken, for which I think we are all better for. And it was really great. I have read some of your feedbacks. Some people think that my panel was a bit biased because I had 3 guys and then I had just the 1 female. But you have to understand that this conversation was inspired by the recent tragic events that have been happening in our community, the murder-suicide in America, and then the murder-suicide as well in Cameroon. I think we had 2. So this is what spurred this conversation, and that's why we decided to have this. And so it is not that I really just thought that we should see it from a man's point of view and understand why maybe through the man's lens or the men's lens, our guests so far, we could see why these things occurred and how to prevent them in the future. So I hope that answers that. It's not that I was being biased. I was just trying to really get as many men as possible on the panel so that we try and see it through the man's lens. So, but today we have our 3rd guy, and I'm really, really, really excited to have him on the show today. I call him an existentialist, and you must have seen that on our promotions, and we said Harry Fon, existentialist. He prefers to be called 13-14. And an existentialist is a person who advocates the philosophical theory of existentialism. And what is existentialism? The theory of existentialism, it just means that for people who believe that human beings are free, are meant to be free, that we determine or we own our own behavior. So that is what it is. And when I go through his Facebook post, he actually hosts, he's part of a panelist on a really popular show on Facebook called Big Debate Cameroon. And when I listen to his opinions, and then when I read his posts and I listen to I read some of his comments, he really, to me, is an existentialist. And I love that about him. And that's why I'm so honored to have you, 13-14, Harry Fon, on the show. Hi.
Hello. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. 13-14 is joining us from Maryland today, right?
Yes. I'm in Maryland today. I live in Chicago, but I'm visiting my mom, so had to fly into Maryland. So, and then also try to make the show within the time differences. Yes. So it's a lot of adjustment. But thank you for having me. Thank you. Pleasure to follow the suit of guests that you've had. I mean, just fitting into that shoe was going to be an uphill task, but I hope I'm equal to the challenge. I love it.
You are equal to the challenge. I know that. But your guests are here. So do you want to say welcome note or?
Welcome to, we've done a lot of promotion for this. So I appreciate everybody that took out some time today to tune in, to have this conversation. I think it's an important to be had. And I think we can wow you, we can learn from each other. And it's all about learning. It's all about opening our environments to new things that we've not been accustomed to. So thank you all guys for joining, and I'm just excited to start talking.
Oh, great. So 13.
Yes.
Why 13-14? Why do you call yourself 13-14?
It's a high school nickname. One of my very good friends, Desmond, he's in Cameroon right now. He gave me the name Prez. It's a long story. We can't start having that conversation right now. But over time, somebody decided to just add the 14 in it, and it sounded really interesting. 13-14, and Trez became this persona that was free to talk. I mean, my name is Harry. Harry is more. People still say Harry is not very reserved too, but I think Trez is very opinionated, very open-minded, and I like that little circle that I put myself in to have that freedom, like you said, existentialist, to just express and see that people are free to do whatever, well, within the guidelines of the law, of course, to live the life that they're supposed to live, to fulfill that potential that they have within themselves. So I started to gain that mantra of Trez, and then it just stuck on me, and ever since it's been 13-14.
And you wear it well, because that persona, you really do wear it well. I'm just going to go straight into it. Do you think generally that men are unappreciated? Do you feel that men are unappreciated generally?
Do I think? Let me take that back. I know men are unappreciated. Thinking is, I'm kind of like somewhere in between, where maybe we are. Maybe I know for a fact that we are unappreciated, right? And I'll give you a little tidbits. For the longest time, right? For the longest time, Father's Day was an unknown day, right? Before we got into the baby mama dramas and all of that stuff, everybody knew Women's Day, and we knew Mother's Day, right? And Father's Day really started to come into fruition when we traveled, when we became the diaspora population, and we started to hear about Father's Day, right? And then once we started to bring it to the forefront and present it to people, that's when the whole drama of baby mamas started popping up. And then, they were like single mothers, our fathers and stuff. But that should tell you that single mothers too have fathers. The Father's Day is for their father, not for the men that they have kids with. But because we are so insignificant, because men are so, or fathers are so, or men are so unappreciated, they're not even as much as giving us a day to just recognize and say thank you for just being the protector that you are. Thank you for being the provider that you are. We have all kinds of names. We are dogs, we are pigs, we are everything. I mean, think about every evil name. That's what a man represents, right? We are incompetent. We are lazy. We are players. Well, some people are players actually, but that is to say that we have been dogged for so long that nobody can say that and that's one of the things I started this movement to try to put men in the front line, that we also want to be loved. We also want to be cared. We also want to be appreciated. We want to hear thank you. We want to hear the nice things, right? We want women to see us also as vulnerable, as humans, right? And appreciate us for the little bit that we do, and create a space for us to coexist. Right. So we're not rivals. We're not supposed to be constantly butt heads and stuff. So I think that for the longest time, men have been underappreciated, but it's time for us to change that dynamics.
Okay, hold it there. First of all, before I even ask you the next question, who do we have tonight? Do we have Harry Fon, or we have 13-14? That's what Ethel is asking.
We have 13.
We have 13-14. Great. Yes. So we have the outspoken persona tonight.
Yes.
Okay. Jules says pushing the Father's Day thing in response to women having Women's and Mother's Day is almost comparable to those who say all lives matter in response to Black Lives Matter. What do you say to that?
I would have to disagree, right? It's just comparing, right? It's look, Father's Day just passed a month ago, right? And we saw the conversation on Facebook where people were saying to themselves that single mothers wanted to embody that day and assume that day. So coming to just everything now, that if you want to compare two things, they're going to say all life matters and Black life matters. No, it's not. It's not actually applicable. On Father's Day, give your father the due respect. Wish your father, if he's of late, pray to him. Say, Lord, wherever my dad is, let him be well. If he's alive, wish your father. But you cannot, as a woman, wish yourself a Father's Day because you're a single mother. So when we frown at this, when we say no, this should not be done, you cannot then say it's all lives matter versus Black lives matter. No, that we have to be able to call out irregularities when we see them. We have to be able to call out women who do this stuff and remind them that you have a father. The obligation is to your father.
So you think men are underappreciated? No, you know men are underappreciated.
No, I know. Let's correct that. I know. I don't think. Think is giving, like I said, think is giving the benefit of the doubt, right?
Yeah.
I know.
I just say is agreeing with you. We're definitely unappreciated. Too much is expected of us, which brings me to what I was going to ask you. Why do you think that men are unappreciated?
I think we get a bad rap for a lot of things that we do, and like we for example, I think that women have an expectation of men, right? I think that women, and I'm not speaking for all women, just in terms of this conversation, I think that women create a man that they want, right? And then they try to fit it on the man that they have, right? And then both of them don't go together. And then there's always a problem because the man that they want is not the man that they have, and there's a conflict, and they're not able to balance this, right? So they're expecting a man, the man that they want is this wealthy man that when they're cooking, he puts Maggi, she puts salt. You know, this is the man that they want.
Okay.
The man that they have is probably watching Manchester United play, and she's in the kitchen, and that's a problem. But they have to be able to sit and have a conversation. And one of the things that we Africans don't do is have conversations, right? We just go from a 0 to 100 with our problems, right? We don't have that middle ground. And oftentimes, once you're at 100, the man also meets you at 100, and then we are all fighting. But we don't have a conversation. You don't tell me what is it that you want me to support you with, right? What it is that you would need assistance with. And I'm supposed to just know this, right? Mm-hmm. And that's why I think that sometimes we are unappreciated because women don't see us for who we are. They see us for what they want us to be.
Right. Okay. I'll stop you there because the women are just not happy with what you're saying. Well, if most men treat women badly, how do you think men will be appreciated? And that was from E.T. General. Men are even appreciated for what they've not done or are yet to do. That's from Melly Stephanie. And
yeah.
Oh no, this is from Black. Bimuma is already saying this conversation is so sexist. We're just starting, B. Don't just give us some time to get into it, please. The above mentioned stereotypes apply to men just like we have other stereotypes applied on women on a daily, but because it's a man's world, you're going nagging for being unappreciated. Let go, right? Tessie says, perhaps you have a point, but should the appreciation you're referring to be directed to all fathers, or should dues be paid where it is due? That is, appreciate fathers who are fathers indeed responsible. And that was my point. I was going to say that what if the woman plays the role of a father on Father's Day? Shouldn't she celebrate herself?
A woman never plays the role of a father. Let's just get that out. A woman plays the role of a mother, right? And the fact that a woman is never gonna know what it means to be a father and do what fathers are supposed to do. She is a single mother. She's hardworking. She's providing and stuff. That is not the role of the father. If I ask the child, is your mother your father? They're going to say no, right? So the woman thinks she plays the role of the father, but the child knows that this is my mother. There's never a day that a child says dad to her mom, right? So again, perception and reality should always be separated. What we think we are doing, again, like I said, somebody is already triggered and saying it's so sexist. It's just the reality of things. perception is what is guiding most of us, right? That we think we are on this wavelength, right? But reality is not that. If you ask any child in a single family home, even if it's a man raising the child, it's your father, your mother, the child is first of all going to be shocked, right? Now, if the child does not know their father and there's no father figure, they're probably going to tell you that I don't know my father and I don't have a father. But I seriously doubt that a child is going to point to their mother that she is my father.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you, in what ways exactly do you think that men are unappreciated? Give us examples.
Okay, so for example, right, we already talked about the war on Father's Day, the war on Men's Day. When we started, there's a day actually called Men's Day. I didn't know this question was going to come about. I've actually given you the exact date. And when I posted that day, and I found out too a few months before that, so I created a conversation around that. I said, Men's Day is coming up. And a lot of women, it was a joke, right? That is actually a day for men. But I'll give you the problems that men have. Prostate cancer, right? It's predominantly a male disease, right? Just like breast cancer is predominantly female. It is the most underfunded study in terms of treatment of everything, right? So that is not a problem for women. That's just a problem for society, that things that affect men. Men are the most people who commit suicide. There's actually no program. I live in the United States, so I will speak for our country. I don't know about the UK or any other country. So in the US, suicide rate for men is through the roof, right? But there's the support system. It's just not there to handle this kind of problems. If you Google domestic violence right now, if you just type domestic violence, it's in relation to domestic violence suffered by women, which in itself is terrible, right? But there's domestic violence also suffered by men. It has zero acknowledgement, zero support. Shelters for battered spouses. If you do battered spouses again on Google, these are just things that I researched post this conversation.
Yeah.
The reference on Google will point you again to spouses, in this case, women, not men. There's significantly no shelters for battered men who have been abused and stuff, right? And through the ages, we know that women over the ages of 15 and above are the ones who are mostly raped.
Yeah.
Boys from 5 to 15 raped more than girls from in that same age group.
Wow.
Right? Yeah.
That's in the West.
In the West. In Africa, it's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
In the West, boys from 5 to 15 suffer most rape. And actually, a study concluded that if we include the prison population, the adults who are jailed and who suffer rape, male, that number would push towards the same number as adult women who are equally raped, right? But there's no organization to focus on this kind of problems, right? So that tells you that men, you're just expected to exist. You understand? There are no institutions for us. We know of the Women's Talk. You have the Women Experience, a page. So many and that's because for the longest time, women have been left behind, and they need all of these organizations to pull them by the bootstrap and bring them up. But we're also thinking that men have always been on top. We've not always been on top. I've not always been on top, right? I've also had to pull myself from the bootstraps, right?
Okay. But you agree with me that it's the world we live in a patriarchy. Almost every community right now in the world is patriarchal, right? You agree with me on that?
I would agree with you.
And it's a man's world.
I don't know what that means. See, as a man, I don't know what that means.
Okay, great. Stay there, stay with that, because I want to ask you, all these expectations or this underappreciation that we have, how does it in any way impact on your mental state?
Of course.
As a man, as an African man in the West.
As an African man and as a Black African man in America, I have to embody a lot of things. There's so many things that I have to, and some of them I put the pressure on myself. So I can speak for myself, right? Some of them, for example, I want to provide for my family. I want to be the leader and have my family follow me behind, right? But I look for these resources, and that's also because I grew up in a 2-parent household, and I had the foundation that was required for me to be stable.
Yes.
A lot of people might not have had the same opportunity as me growing up, and coming now to the West, the demands are different. You're having to provide, you're having to play a role that you had no role model to see playing that role. You understand? And that you didn't have no fathers, your uncles were probably drunkards or they were all over the place. So you didn't have no male role model to see, because one of the things that we don't have in Africa is role models, right? That you see. And then when you come to the West, it's expected. You hear it. It's constantly reminded that as a man, you have to do this and you have to fulfill this and you have to, all of this expectation. And it takes a toll, right? And if you don't have a partner, or if you don't have a support system that could alleviate some of that stress and pressures that comes with you having to exist in that space as a man, then it could mess up with your psyche, it can mess up with your intellect. And then we see what we see right now, the situation in Ohio. Those are not things that were very common within our community, but we're beginning to see that right now.
Okay. Hi. Thank you guys for those who are just joining us. Welcome to the Woman Experience. I'm Goretti, and our guest for today is 1314, or also known as Harry Fun. And we're talking mental health within the community. We are concluding our series. Okay. I'm reading your comments, and a lot of you are accusing me of of making this a men versus women thing. Ladies, if you read the comments, we hold all these not attitudes, it's not anger, but we hold all these resentments which are clearly visible in the comments. If you read the comments, any one of you go back and read the comments, you can see a lot of anger, a lot of angst in the things you're typing. The whole point of having a man today is to have a conversation, to hear from the other side. It is not to pitch a man against a woman. And for those who are asking, how does it relate to their mental health? How does pressure relate to your mental health? We heard that from Mr. Tanya from the very first conversation, and he was talking about how all the pressure and the negative experiences and emotions impact our mental health. This is still a part of the conversation. If we want a better world, we have to be willing to have a conversation. If he's saying things that we don't agree with, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't be open to listening. We should stop thinking that it is some complot that I have strategized to come and make women look bad. I'm a woman. Why would I want to do that to my women folk? So if we can all just have an open mind and listen to what he's saying and not be too quick to not listen, let us actually listen to understand and not listen to respond, then maybe we'll get somewhere. Because the whole point of the conversation, it's not because I want to raise the man up or praise the man in any way. That's not what I'm doing. I'm actually about to be sorry. I may sound a bit harsh, but I just didn't like some of the comments I was reading. I'm thinking, why would I want to set women up? Let's just have an open conversation about these things that frustrate us about men, please. Thank you. Sorry, Harry. I'm sorry I interrupted you there. So, but a lot of people have commented, which I'm going to read some of them. I can't read quite a few that have come about while I was okay.
Can I say something real quick before you get to the comment? See, and that's I think that what you just expressed is part of the problem. We don't listen, right? Yeah. People tend to feel like men don't have a say. We have always been privileged, and because we have been privileged, we need to be quiet now and let these women who are angry right now do the talking, and all we need to do is do the listening. And it would actually help. You could actually disagree, but it does help. I've told a lot of people in this conversation, we've had interactions on Facebook, and I've told them that the biggest problem is that we don't listen to each other. We scream at each other over each other, but fundamentally it's going to come a point when we have to sit on the table and talk. And I would say some things that would offend you, but you need to still sit over there and listen. And you would say some things that would offend me, but I need to listen. And once I listen, I would hear your cry.
Yeah.
And then at that point, we're going to be able to solve problems. So we are just actually getting started. So they will.
Exactly.
It's getting interesting. I love this.
I mean, even I would, because there are some things that you say that I do not agree with. You've said that I don't agree with, but I'm trying to understand it, especially from a man's point of view.
And it just started. The conversation just started. Yeah. So of course, if people have questions, they should ask questions specifically to what they heard, and that would be a better interaction, right? It's just I think on one side you have a lot of triggered people who are just ready to throw fire at everything. So Trez is here. That's why I say you had to have Trez, because if it was Harry, I would have been apologizing right now. Yes. So it's Trez.
Okay, so let's get on with it. So I was asking you how these pressures and expectations from the world affect your mental state. And
right. So we talked about that, and one of the ways you see that exhibit itself in real time is we drink a lot of alcohol, drugs, abusing our significant others. We don't take that into consideration, that we don't understand that an external factor could create a mental issue, and then I come back home and my wife says something, but because I'm still within that problem outside, I react internally upon her, an innocent woman. So this are things that trigger. We don't do a lot of studies. I was on a different show and they were quoting studies in the West and studies in this, and I'm like, in Africa, especially in Cameroon, what study has been done on the man and his psyche? What study has been done on the woman and her psyche, and how all of the demands of society affects an African man? I couldn't find any of those studies. So we're going by intuition, right? And the studies that have been conducted on whites and African Americans, but our culture is obviously different. So we need to start doing our own studies to see exactly, like you said, it's a patriarchal world. What does that mean to me, a man, in a world that is supposed to benefit me, and I feel that it's not benefiting me?
Exactly. I think that's it. That's what I was thinking about. Because do you have me on another device? Because I can hear an echo.
Okay, I'll mute you when you're talking.
Okay, so you said something which I really wanted to point out, because we all as humans, we know that it's a man's world, and which we're going to come and try to explain what we mean by it's a man's world. But how does that affect the man who is not meeting up in a man's world? How does that affect him? How does it affect his self-confidence? How does he affect his self-identity as a man?
I don't know if I feel like I have any. As a man, I don't feel entitled to any benefits, right? I feel like I have to work hard for everything I have. I don't feel like anything. Remember, again, in this country, I'm a minority. So there's the white man, there's the white woman, there are Asians, there's the black woman, and then I come somewhere like the last. And I need to go over this. And I'm not trying to compete with my black African woman or black woman, because we are supposed to be a partner. But these are layers that I have to go over to provide for this woman, right? So in my space, I just feel like that's just the challenge that is in front of me, right? That's the reality. And this is why when people talk about patriarchy, for me, it feels like there's a national cake for men someplace that we can go there, or there's a treasure that we can go there and extract. But you just need to, as a man, when you have a special code as a man to come in there. And that's not been my reality. My reality has been the reality of everybody, every woman that I grew up with. Mm-hmm. is living my same reality. They have the same difficulties that I have. I don't live in Cameroon, like Elia said. So I don't have benefits like, okay, I will be chopped chair. I don't have benefits like I'm going to acquire land, those kind of things. I live here. And my reality is to go to work, own a business, and provide for my family, right? Those are Western realities. So I when people throw out it's a patriarchal world as if something, being a man, I benefit something by being a man. I don't know that. For me, that traumatizes me more than me waking up understanding that every day I have to go to work. I have to provide for my family, my wife, my kids. Those are my realities, and those are the things that stress me more, because if I cannot provide for them, then I think I have failed.
Failed as a man?
Yes. You understand? But it's not a standard. It's my standards that I set for myself. So we have to set standards, right? We have to set standards where we go from one layer to another, one layer. I came to this country as a teenage, a young man. I'm an adult now. So yeah. I have evolved as a man, right? My expectations when I came when I was a boy was different than today. And that's how I will continue to grow. But when I fail at any level, I measure myself at that failure, that level that I failed, and try to examine what is this? How do I fix this? Okay. But I don't go by a national standard of privilege.
All right, that's you, Tres. That's you. You don't go by a national standard. You judge yourself by your own personal measures. What's the conversation you have among men when a man fails as a man by the standards that are generally set, right?
Give me an example of those standards.
Okay, let's say a man loses his job and is unable to find a job. Maybe is being fed and by his wife or his significant other for a year or two. In society, he's failed. We look at him as he's failed, even if he may be saying, okay, maybe he's taking going back to school and just trying to. As long as he's not providing financially in our community or in our societies, that's failure. That's a man who's failed. So what do you guys as men, what are you guys saying among yourselves when a man is in that state?
So first of all, I don't necessarily see that as failure, right? I want to understand what works for that particular relationship, right? Is this something that the woman, because I've been in my life where my wife has had to support me, where I was trying to go back to school and finish a few programs and get some certifications under my belt. And she had to support me. And this went on for a year and a half, where I didn't make no income. She gave me money. She put money, gave me money for gas. She basically took care of me, right? Mm-hmm. Now, if I'm going by the measure of society might sit out there and say there's a woman taking care of that man.
Okay, hold on. What did people say about you when you were in that situation?
And I don't know. I don't put myself in situations where people's conversation or people's opinion of me matters, because then I will go crazy.
That's the point I'm trying to get to. And if there's any man in the audience who wants to add to this, I'm trying to find out that what's a man's mental state when he thinks he has failed. Because we are talking mental health. It comes in, like I said, it's inexhaustive. It comes in various forms, right? So and it affects us differently in many ways. So I'm trying to find out if a man thinks that he has failed at some point in his life, how does that affect him? How does it affect you?
So it depends on the man. Do you, first of all, see yourself as a failure? Like I said, in my own case, I left my job to go better myself, right? So I did not consider myself essentially that I had failed, right? So I sat with my family and we said, this is where we at, but let's move financially, but it would require that I take myself out of the situation and go get a better qualification, right? So that was a decision between my wife, myself, and the kids, right? Though they were too young at the time. But back to your original point. Say, for example, I'm not living to the full potential of my abilities, right? Yeah. And it's subconsciously, because there are two kinds of people. There are the people that know this, that they're not where they want to be. Mm-hmm. And they put pressure on themselves. Some people can handle, those people go again into two directions. The ones that can handle the pressure and succeed, because you need a certain amount of pressure on you to achieve the goals that you want to achieve. And then there are people that put the pressure on them and then they break down.
Okay.
Right? And then there are people that just don't care.
Okay.
Right? So the people that just don't care. I don't think, yes.
Sorry, just stay on that thought because it agrees with what Tessie said here. Tessie said in the comments, no, Goretti, a perfect example of a man who has failed is a man who works and fails to take take on his family responsibilities. And that's who you just want to talk about now. So go on.
Right. So that's the man, exactly, the one that really does not care. He works, he earns income, no matter how small or no matter. Let's talk about the ones that even make small, but they don't help in paying the house bill. They don't help in providing tuition for the kids. They don't help at any level. Now, does society look at that man like a failure? Again, there are men that society can look at them like a failure.
Yes, he's a failure.
No, this is the point I'm trying to make, right?
Let me represent society right now. He's a failure, that kind of man.
Right, but then there are people that impression of failure will not matter to them either which way, right? They just don't care. And then there are people that society would say you're a failure, and then they will sit and reflect and say, yes, truly, I am a failure, and then that would affect them. Now, who is to blame? Is society to blame for making this man who did not care mentally unstable and trying to pull him back to being normal? Because, like I said, I think that we need to be able to find a way to address problems. Instead of just saying you are a failure, how do we as a community structure to see how we can assist? That's why we have Njangis. Look, I've always had a problem with all of these ex-student associations, and this is how I want to relate. What does it do for the people, for the ex-students of that sessions, lessons? What do you guys do as a collective of people when one of your members is not doing the right thing? It starts with all of these associations, and we all fail. So we cannot just blame the one man when all of us collectively, we have failed him.
Right. Hold on. Hold that thought. So you're saying that when a man fails, you're blaming the collective. But when a woman fails, we blame the woman.
And that's the problem. There's no way I'm going to stand here and say if a woman fails, we should blame the woman. It's still a collective. She's in Jangisi. Look, I have friends, right? Yeah. I've had difficult times in my life where my friends were there to support me. And I tell you, without them, I don't know which direction that my life would have turned out, right? And I swear to God, I would just show up in my friend's house unannounced, something that they really hated. And then I'll sleep on the couch for like 2 days, right? And that's because I was going through something, and we all go through this. But my friends would be like, hey, Harry, man up. Because then that was Harry. That's the reality. That's real. Man up. Let's get this. Let's go out here. Let's go do this. Let's do this, right? And you need that. You don't need people judging you. You need people helping you. And one of the failures that we failed women is because we judged the woman. We said, you failed. Instead of having and again, women's circle, start by blaming the circle. When a woman fails, the circle does not pull her up by the bootstraps. The circle further pushes her down. There are expectations within that circle that she needs to exhibit, and she's not exhibiting. For men, it's different. If you have a trust circle of 3-4 guys that are your friends, right? They will always push you. They will say, keep going. And sometimes it's not enough. Sometimes, like that, somebody came up in that Ohio situation. Some guy said, I tried. I reached out to him. I did this. And sometimes it's really not enough. But guys have a tendency of always doing the collective effort to bring you back up, to bring you, to get you into a groove where you're more comfortable.
Okay.
But I don't see women do it often. Maybe they do. I just don't see it often.
We do. Women do.
Like I said, I don't know if
again, not that I'm trying to argue, but let's that's a solution you're providing. We need to be more of a collective. So if one of us fails, we should know that we have all failed. So we need to really build structures, create structures to be there for each other and look at each other as like that, as the collective.
It's a collective. That's how every other community works. We have all of this traditional union, Mancon association, this, that. If a member within that organization is drifting away and we just let that go, man or woman, then we are all to blame.
Right. I like that. I like that. And I want you to stay on that. Hile Aben says, the privilege that patriarchy gives me is mostly not seen by the men who enjoy it. Just by being a man, whether in Western or Africa, you enjoy a lot of privilege you're not aware of. So I understand my brother's points, but he's enjoyed a lot more than he realized just by being a man. Because just now you denied patriarchy, the existence of patriarchy, or you argued against that. But this is another man saying that there is patriarchy and you benefit from it.
And I don't I don't necessarily think I deny. I say, show me what I benefit. If I want to benefit from something, let me know that I benefit from this thing and I enjoy it. There's no reason why I'm supposed to benefit from something and then I'm not aware of it and I'm not benefiting from it. If it is subconscious, then what does that do to me? See, if there's a job that I can go to and show up as a man and I get the job, of course, that's a benefit, right? That you know that you're getting this job because you're a man. If there's a pathway that only men, if there's I want to see benefits that are tangible. Don't tell me about benefits that I should just know I enjoy because I'm a man.
Right. Okay. So I think let me take it back to there. When as a man, you are taught to be a man. There's that thing we say, he's a man, he's a man, he's a man. What does it mean to be a man?
That's a very interesting question. For me, a man is a provider, a protector.
Right.
That is ultimately my job as a man. And if I don't do those two things, then I've failed completely. Right? And to provide and protect. Right? I could provide for myself and I could protect myself. If I add another unit of that into that equation, a woman, I should be able to provide for us and I should be able to protect us. That is my job. My first and most important job is provide and protect.
Right.
Every other thing is secondary. When I start deciding to make kids, again, I need to be able to provide for them and I need to be able to protect them. Right? Okay. And every other thing starts to build around those two pillars of those two foundational pillars, right? And that is what it means to be. Now, if there are advantages that come with being a man, like, okay, you're a man, you're stronger, and I don't know if that's an advantage, but those advantages should be centered around those two pillars.
Right. Okay. Quinta is agreeing with you because she says, it's rather unfortunate the expectations set for an African man, blacks in general anyway, in the West are extremely high. So the expectations set for an African man in the West are extremely high. That's true. You're not entitled to failure in any way, shape, or form. That's the society we live with. And that's coming from a woman. Okay, so you are, as a man, you're a provider, you're a protector.
Yeah,
if you can't meet one of these, if you can't provide or you can't protect, what does that do to you mentally?
Again, there are conditions where you cannot meet that. You could, health-wise, you might not have the stamina or the possibility to meet those two conditions, right? So there are precursors that you might inhibit you from meeting that. And if you know this, right, you can have a conversation with your partners, with your friend, with your families, right? Yeah. And having that conversation is the person understanding your shortcomings. Yeah. Me, I am a aggressive, goal-getting type of man, so I set the standards, right? And then we add to what I have in front of us, right? And then we keep running, right? But the men who are not outspoken. Some women are tremendously goal-getters, right? They are strong, they're fundamental, they're achievers. Yeah. And if that kind of a woman is with a man who is not that driven, because there's some men that are not that driven, right? Yeah. Again, a conversation. Don't see yourself necessarily as a failure. See yourself as an enabler, right? How do I push my woman so she gets to the summit that she needs to get for the benefit of us all, right? And every little bit, as long as you're contributing positively for your growth, I am content. I'm satisfied that you should see yourself as an accomplished man, right? As long as you see yourself as an addition to some other person's life, not a division or subtraction, but an addition or a multiplication, not in terms of numbers of kids, but an addition in terms of value, value added, then you should see yourself as a successful man. And on that note, I'm trying to start a conversation so that because one of the things that we don't do as men is educate men on their responsibilities, right? To see themselves as providers and protectors, right? To see themselves as leaders, right? So we need to have these conversations to teach men, to tell men that, listen, it is your God-given right, birthright. If that's a privilege I'm going to take. And if that's patriarchy, that's the kind of patriarchy that I want to accept.
Okay, so I'm throwing this question to the audience, and you've answered some of it, but I'm going to throw it to the audience. Trez is saying here that a man's fundamentals as to qualify as a man is to protect and to provide. Now, I'm going to ask the men in the audience, how hard, when you cannot provide or when you cannot meet one of this, how do you feel? Again, physically, mentally, how do you feel trying to get support from your significant other? How does that make you feel? If you cannot provide, you cannot protect. How does it make you feel trying to get support from your significant other? And then for the women, I'm going to ask you in reverse. When your man is in a situation where he cannot provide, neither can he protect you, how do you feel, and how does it affect how you see him? Or does it affect it at all? Let's talk on that. But you Trez, you say you have no problem supporting asking for support from your wife because she's done that in the past, so you are fine with it. But for other men, what does that mean to you?
And again, look at the upbringing. Some men would think, okay, now she's making more money than me, and she's going to talk back to me. So insecurity starts to build in. But insecurity usually is not an abstract. It just doesn't come from space. Something triggers insecurity. And oftentimes people like to say, it wasn't me. The only thing that I did was I got more money than him, and then he became insecure. I shared with you a video before now on words, the things that we say subconsciously. We don't understand the impact of words, right? We feel like when I say something, I may not necessarily mean it, but we don't understand how hurtful it is, right? And I think that's the breakdown. We don't know where that insecurity came from. We don't know what you may have said to the man to feel insecure. But oftentimes everybody plays the innocent. I didn't say nothing. He's insecure that I make more money than him. And just by saying that, it's an insult to the man.
Right.
If you're telling me that my husband or my boyfriend is insecure because I make more money than him, that just tells me that you have categorized him as a failure. You understand? And I could be in that man's head. I can see the conversations that you guys have had and the things that you probably said without trying to hurt him, but you said it, maybe you're trying to be honest, but it did hurt the man. And we have to be very mindful. We have to be very watchful by the things we say, right? Because we don't know how each person is going to interpret this and how it's going to happen. So I think that in America, again, financial reason is the number one reason for divorce. It's not infidelity. It's not domestic violence. It's finance, which means couples cannot agree on their money.
Okay.
Right. And within our community, it's happening a lot. But like I said, no study is done. Right. It's always she said, he said. We don't know the exact extent. And like you said, it's wide ranging. It's a broad conversation to have. But does making more money change your attitude?
Okay, hold on that thought, because they are killing me. They're killing me in the comments. But let me go back and read some responses to this. I don't know why there is this feeling like I Why do people think you're an anti-feminist? There's a lot of that in the comments. Why do people say 1314 is an anti-feminist?
See, that, like I said, right, there are a few women who are my friends who are just triggered about everything I say, right? And I find these women to be permanent victims, right? They see themselves as like victims out through this world. And for me, that's the height of all weakness. All weakness is like, you need to be able to get out of this blame game, right? Like I said, I don't know. I since I started considering myself an egalitarian, that means I see women and men as equals, right? I have a lot of respect for women. I have a lot of admiration for women. Actually, I promote a lot of women to see beyond the basic of being a victim. I want you to understand that you can be whoever you want to be. You can achieve whatever you want to achieve. All you need to do is to change your mindset.
In a patriarchal society.
In this country that I live in, everything has been given to you. In Cameroon, it's a hardcore patriarchal society. Besides, there are no jobs for men and women in Cameroon. It's not like there's an abundance of jobs and the men are getting it, right? So there are no jobs. The problems of Cameroon, if we talk about the problems of Cameroon, they're different problems. In this country, women have equal rights as men. You understand? So for somebody to sit in America and tell me about the plight of a woman in 2020, I have a problem with that.
Right.
Now, if you're telling me about the plight of a woman from a historical context, then we have a conversation. But
no,
I don't want to.
No, I don't. I think there, I would disagree with you there, because as much as you're saying these things, you're not taking into consideration something as simple as trying to get a job. A man comes to get a job, he's based, it's easy for, it's going to be based a lot of the times on his qualification and his experience. A woman applies for that same job is based on so many things. Has she had all her baby? Is she of childbearing age? Is she pretty? Is she not pretty? Is she too smart? Is she not too smart? There's so many subcategories for that same position. So for that, I would disagree with you right there.
No. Let me agree with you. Let me give you, let's put it in context, right? So you want to apply for a job, right? This company hiring has their standards. That is unique to them, right? That is unique. If you go to another company, that's not going to be the same problem. Now, you want to talk about a problem. A problem is across the board. We cannot nitpick. Listen, there are companies that don't hire. There are companies that no. There are companies that if a black man goes there, they're not gonna tell you that they're not gonna hire you because you're a black man. If a black woman goes there, they're not gonna tell you that they did not hire you because you're a black woman. I had an interview where I was qualified. They kept me going. Maybe they didn't hire me because they heard an accent, right? I don't know, but they didn't give me the job. So I can convince myself that I didn't get the job for whatever reason.
Okay,
there are companies where they will not hire you because you're of childbearing age, and that's unfortunate.
Okay, but let's just agree to disagree right there, because if we live in a patriarchy, that is let's agree to disagree. But I know, and as well as many women know, that we live in a patriarchy, so that a patriarchal world in general. But
Goretti, don't you think that you're doing a disservice to women? Reinforcing what does that conversation hold on, what does that particular statement do to what does it do to a young girl coming up into the world? She is 16, she's 17, she's getting into college, when you tell her that we live in a patriarchal society, what does that do to her?
All I'm telling her that she's going to have to work 10 times as hard as a man for the same position, and she's going to have to endure sexual harassment. She has to prepare herself and protect herself against that. She's going to face a lot of sexism. It is what it is. I'm not saying that don't work hard, don't aspire, but just know the hurdles that await every step of your journey. It is our reality. And I don't
would you tell a son, I don't have sons, I have only daughters. Would you tell a son that same conversation?
No, okay. So for my son, I'm going to tell him to treat the woman as equal, Because I know.
No, he's going into the world. Have that same conversation. He's going into the world. What challenges do you think he's going to face?
As a mother of black sons, I'm just going to tell him the conversation of, you have to work twice as hard as the white guy. But that's all I have to tell him. But for my daughters, I have to tell them, you're not only going to work twice as hard or 5 times as hard as the white girl. You're going to have to work. You're in competition with the white girl, the white boy, and the black boy.
Where in America, the black guy is not there, but the white girl, the Asian, and the white man.
The Asian, the man, the woman, and the color. So that is the reality. So for my sons, I know that if they work hard and they do what they have to do, their path is going to be a lot more smoother than my daughters. But
you see, I'm going to have that conversation with all of my daughters, right? I'm going to have that same conversation that you're having with your daughters. But I'm having that conversation to make them understand that they have to be the best that they can be. Like, B is not going to be good enough. You understand? Like, while the white man is having a B, you cannot afford to settle on a B. So I'm not telling my daughter that there's this huddle. I'm just making her understand that you just have to be the best in the game, right? Okay. And I will tell you, when they select black women into any field, they are the absolute best. But that might be a problem for some people, but for me, I look at it like, if I'm going to get the best, let's get the best.
If we're even going to talk about, just go quick statistics of wage earners, the disparity of the same job between a man and a woman, all those things stress. I don't know if you don't want to see it, but they exist for the woman, and those are hurdles that the woman has to go through, and those are the things that make it a patriarchal world. But anyway, I'm saying all of this, we're diverting a bit from, because our conversation is how all these things affect the man, because the man, again, in most cases, is the perpetrator of violence. So I'm trying to see what are some of those things that irk him, that upset him, that push him, that makes him eventually react in that way. So this is the trend of thought. So I don't know if my audience, this is where we're going. That's why the conversation is going the way it's going. But obviously, Tres being and Tessie is disagreeing with me here, saying that it is based on skills and experience nowadays. It's no longer, I think that's about job quality, and she's agreeing with you, but that's not the case in my world.
That's it. And that's where we should, and that's why all of these people that are triggered in the comment section, that's why I say they're victims. They want to stay in this place where people feel sorry for them. Listen, we need women to succeed. I need to see women in top positions, but I don't want to see women in top positions because they're women.
No, but look, listen to that. Jew is saying, I beg to differ. For those of us in the corporate who can relate, we get passed over several times for promotions in favor of men. All I'm saying is, I get your point. You're trying to uplift the woman and tell her, don't stay in that mindset. Get out of it and push. That's your angle. Yes. My angle is, that is a reality. Even while you're pushing, you cannot ignore your reality, or it can send you into a deep depression. It can send you into some serious mental illness. It can create.
We're talking about mental illness, right? Where do you want to be? Do you want to be where you're constantly thinking about your problems, or do you want to think about, I know what my problem is, I just need to keep fighting? Now, I would agree that if you keep fighting and they keep pressing you down, it's always going to affect you, right? And as a man, if I keep fighting and I get rejected, I will get depressed at some point. But I want to ask the people who do exercises, what do they say? Never give up, right? Okay. The people who are motivated, or all of these people in the gym and all of that exercise guru people, they say, no matter how it hurts, don't give up. And that's where I want to bring women. I want to bring women to see that it is not easy. It's not going to be given to you because you're pretty, because you're ugly, because you're a woman. It's going to be given to you because you work twice, 3 times as hard for it.
Okay.
You understand? And that's where I'm at. So when you see people want to talk about women have done, God, my goodness. That is my mental frustration. It depresses me. See, okay. I swear to God, if I kill myself, which will never happen though, my mental breakdown is these women who, because I have daughters and I worry for my daughters. I worry that there are women teaching my daughters to be victims. And I see these women as enemies.
Right.
Because they're making my daughters victimize themselves, see themselves as, oh, if I try, I'm not gonna get it because I'm a woman. And for me, that is a problem.
Okay, so let me read some comments here because the comments are quite interesting and quite a few. So Bimoma is saying just his definition of a man puts pressure on him. Clementine is saying communication and understanding is the key. There are things that I do which are considered a man's thing that my husband can do. I take care of those and it takes care of my weaknesses. Again, collective. It works as collective, isn't it? Bernard is saying, as a man, it depends how he flows with the partner. I think he's talking about. I think Marie is responding to Annie here. She says, Annie, egalite. What? The host knows what she was counting on bringing up such a guest to close a great 4-part series on mental health she had started. So much flames being fanned. Sadly, I'm entitled to my subjectiveness, just like he is. Okay, where is this getting lost in translation? Is this how people feel?
No. I don't think that we should get distracted. Just continue, carry on with the conversation. Which
experience? I was sick and my wife. This is from a man, and he's responding to the question I asked how he feels when he has to rely on the woman. He says it's a frustrating experience. I was sick and my wife had to pick up the slack. It bugged me a bit, but she always had a way to make me feel better. Right.
Teamwork. Appreciate that. I love that.
That's nice. That's really weird that she has to. So that is a bit weird to me, Elvis. She had to find a way to make you feel better for not providing.
Maybe consider that he put it out there wrongly. They knew how to work together.
Okay. All right. I mean, maybe Elvis will come and explain that to us. Sorry, I don't want to. I'm not looking at it as bad. I'm just trying to think. Hold on. She's put in a position to provide, and then she has to massage your ego to make you feel better.
You see where we had to go with. Oh my goodness! You see where we had to go with this. Listen, that couple is happy. That couple figure out a way to.
No opinions from me. Bila says. Exactly, not a competition. People rise up from the doldrums all the time. We're too critical and over-expectant in today's world. Eno says, you must be able to do one of those anytime. Sorry, I can't read. You must be able to do one of those anytime. If you can't provide, you must be able to protect. You can't sit there and claim to be a man without those two abilities. Providing is not all about money. Communication on how you feel with your significant other will take that. Oh, I like that. So I think that ties in with what Elvis is trying to say, that even though he couldn't, okay, so I understand that.
Let's clarify something. Providing does not mean that I make the most money.
Yeah.
Right? My wife makes more money than me, right? Yeah. Providing, but I do what I need to get done, right? I make sure the mortgage gets paid. I make sure everything gets paid with my limited resources. And remember, we grew up hearing this thing that a man's money is his wife's money, a wife's money is her money, right? Yes. That's a happy man, yes. Right? That's a happy man. And if you put that in front of you, you are a happy man, right? So when we say providing, men should not think that I mean that you have to make the world's, you have to be a millionaire, you have to be richer than your wife. Because if you're thinking that, it means you're going to hold your wife's potential down. Because if she's more driven in school, if she's more a business person, and you're not, you cannot hold her back because you want to be the one making the most money, right? But you must do your share of what needs to be done. And I think Extin asked the question that women have been providing forever. Why is it that a man needs to provide and stuff? Extin, nobody's stopping. Women provide. Women continue to provide. But in every household, there have to be a leader, right? It does not take from the woman providing. She's going to provide, but she's just joining as a partner with her husband to provide.
Okay, that says something to me. Again, this is another part of the thing that I wanted to ask from that, which I think I was hoping that the audience would answer to me. For the man, when you cannot provide, or if you find yourself in a situation where you cannot provide and protect, although Eno is arguing that you must be able to do one of the two. If you must either provide or protect. And if you find yourself in that situation where you can't provide and protect, and this is not for you, Trace, because obviously you argue differently, but for those, if you ever find yourself in a situation that you cannot provide and protect, would you still see yourself as a man?
I hope they say no.
Would you still see yourself as a man? Because all of this line of questioning, guys, is just to understand, because our men, we cannot deny that our men are ego driven. That's the nature of our African men.
That's the nature of a man. It's not only African men.
I don't know
The white man is ego driven too.
But I know how my brothers were raised. Although in my household it was a bit different. My brothers were raised like us, but I know that the Cameroonian boy is a bit pampered. He may be doing the chores, but he's consistently reminded that he's a man, he's a man, he's a man, he's a man. You know, he cannot be seen cooking, he's a man. He cannot do this, he's a man. He can't do all of this, he's a man. Then he comes to the West, and then the tables are flipped. You know, the tables are completely turned, and he has to cook, he has to clean, he has to look after the baby, he has to change the diapers. And I wonder mentally how that dichotomy, how does it affect you guys as men?
And look, one man needs to start. And then I made a picture of me babaing my daughter, my last baby. I had her baba while I was working, and I put a picture. And then it trickled a lot of effect. A lot of other guys did the same thing. They babad their kids, and they showed that, oh, Tress, not only you was doing that. And I like that. And that's how we learn. That's how we should be able to pick it back. We talk about this. So, for example, if my friend calls me up and says, man, my wife she's going to work, and I have to, oh, one of my friends once said on Facebook that he's babysitting his kids, right? And I said, no, a man cannot babysit his kids, right? Once they are your kids, you cannot babysit them. You take care of your kids. You babysit some other person's kid, right? And not that he was taking care of his kids. He just thought that it sounded like you could say babysitting, but that's what we do. We have this conversation, and then guess what? He's not gonna say that someplace else. And if he goes to some other place and somebody says, "Oh, now my day for babysit picking them," they're gonna say, "Oh no, you don't babysit your kids. You take care of your kids." You understand? So we have our conversations, we have our ways of talking, but it gives you time to reflect. The problem are the men who don't have friends, who don't listen, and we have that in our community. But if my friend calls me up and tells me something about his relationship and he's blaming his wife or his girlfriend, I have to listen. And if it's just where he banded dirty for house, this and that, I'm like, but dude, come on. If she has done a double, go in there and help her and do the dishes. If you don't like to do dishes, get disposable dishes. So when you eat, you throw. So there are no dishes in there. She's not a machine. Right? But I will have this conversation with them, right? I had a conversation with one of my friends who had gone out during the COVID time, and his wife was mad that you went out during the COVID time. And I said, duh, she's right. He got mad at me that I didn't take his side.
Okay, right? So I'm like, you are the modern man. Like, you're not a Cameroonian man, you're a modern man.
This is why I tell my feminist friends that, listen, I am past you. You understand? Like, my friend was so mad at me that I didn't take his side. I'm like, but dude, you went out during COVID. That was when COVID was at the peak. And your wife was mad. I'm like, okay, help me understand. I'm mad that you went out because you'll be sick. I have to worry about that, right? But these are conversations that I have, and I expect all the other men to have this conversation. Hold your friends accountable. You understand? And my friend, he probably will not tell me he will say, now, if I tell you, you'll probably take Madami's side. I'm like, so what's the problem in that? Right? But that is where we need to be. We need to be each other's keeper. I need to be my brother's keeper. My brother needs to be my keeper. I need to be my sister's keeper. She needs to be my keeper. We need to look out for each other. You need to be worried about my state of mind. I don't have to post something on Facebook and that's the day that you're worried.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I think that's what Doko Sankara also insisted on, that we need to look out for each other, because that's something that we don't do in our community. Judy, thank you for that. She say, Goretti, so sorry, but some of your audience have just haven't attained the level of maturity to be able to have an open conversation without feeling it's a war. Some people just take things too personal, and I think you've hit the nail on the head, because I think people are, are you reading the comments as well? Because it feels
I am.
like there is a war going on, and that is certainly not my intention. So I hope at least some people are getting it, that that's not my intention. That's not how we're delivering it. This is a very uncomfortable question. I told you guys on Wednesday that when he comes, those difficult questions that we've always wanted to ask, let's ask a man. And obviously he's brought other men to the party, and those men can also respond. And I think that, again, it's judgment free, right? Yes, let's have a debate. Let's have an uncomfortable conversation, but let's have that conversation with an open mind, because again, let's listen to understand, so that we can leave this place and be a lot more tolerant of each other, and maybe we will be able to avoid what happened in Ohio recently. So that's why we're having this, and I thank you guys for being patient, and I thank you for really punching me in the comments. I appreciate I appreciate it. Tres, don't go, because I want to read a few more comments. Siri says, a lot of times I feel women walk on eggshells when the men feel down, like a failure. Like someone else said in the comments, you don't even need to say anything and the man will flare up. The insecurity complex just becomes unbelievable in a lot of cases, which brings me to one of my questions that I had written down. Where is this? And I'm saying that, and I was, gosh, sorry, I'm just trying to find it. This insecurity that our men go through, because before, for men who are abusive, because there are a lot of men in our community who are abusive, and
physically abusive, right?
Physically, I'm talking physically right now. Obviously, to get to physical abuse, you must have manipulated her and abused her emotionally to a point to be able to get to that point and make it acceptable in your home or in your couple. But there's something that Mr. Tanya said, who was a cognitive psychologist, and he was saying something along the lines of, he said something which I completely disagreed with him, but he said something along the lines of that we need to help. So when the man starts exhibiting all these insecurities and all of these things, we need to help him. You, the spouse or the significant other in his life, you need to help him. You need to be able to identify it. And even if he eventually turns abusive, you don't just leave. You should help him. And if you can't help, then you leave. Now, but I'm taking you to that point of when he starts exhibiting these insecurities and these outbursts and this anger. What are some of the factors that contribute to that state that are external?
Again, friends, right? Boy, no leave Danga talk for you, so things like that, right? Yeah. Danga no be manke you respect, Danga no be disrespect you, kind of things, right? So again, your circle of friends, right? If you have friends that cannot tell you, and usually people tune out that one friend that keeps them real and then go to where they find the same likelihood of support or the lack thereof, right? If I don't have a circle of people to talk to, like I said earlier, my friends were with the foundation. They helped me when I was breaking apart. Yeah. And if a man does not have it, or he has the wrong ones that instigate that kind of life, then of course that's going to happen, right? Because oftentimes I've had situations where we like, Buranga, no talk for you, so that girl can't talk to you like that. That's disrespectful. You got to put your foot down and say you're the man. That is one thing. Putting your foot down and saying that you're the man is one thing. But maybe the man is listening and saying that maybe I need to beat her up a couple of times and so that she understands who the boss is. Yeah. Something else, right? So he's hearing that I need to put my print in the house as a man, which means I need to help out. I need to assist. I need to do all the things I need to do so that the woman gives me back my respect. Right. But he's processing the information that my authority needs to be I need to snatch it from her by force. You understand? So we must look at all of these external factors. What are the friends? And they're not even friends. Men go to Sequeeze. So you are drinking in Sequeeze and you have drank a couple of beers and then you start telling your friends your problems to people that don't know you. Right? To random people in the bar at the Sequeeze. And then they start saying, boy, if not me, that's enough happen. So, right? With alcohol, with the message that you've had, and now you're full up with rage, and you have your matching orders, and you're going to break down your whole house. You understand, right?
Yeah.
But after you've done that, I appreciate a man who can reflect, who can go back and say, I've done damage. We're not perfect, right? There's no man, not me, no matter what I'm saying here. If you dig up on me, you will see some dirt, you will see some crazy stuff. But have I learned? Have I evolved past my own share mistakes that I make? And that's what I expect of a man, right? That's what I expect, that once you've made your mistake and somebody tells you that that's a mistake, you accept that that's a mistake. And now, I don't know if I know this is a conversation about men, but like I said, one thing that's gonna help us, right, is oftentimes people take their problems to pastors, all of these people that I don't know if they have the qualifications and all of that stuff to solve the problems. And I don't know if the pastor has any interest or benefit, or pastor's been trying to get you to come to church, but people take their problems to the wrong places for solutions. Right. The African man is still scared of the doctor. We don't even go for our regular checkups because, one, we don't even want to know what we might find out. And if we hear a bad experience, that just shuts the door for us.
Why are you guys scared to know what you might find out? Is it what is that fear?
I can't put a finger on it. I don't know.
Is it a macho thing, thinking I'm a man, I'm good, I can't be sick?
I don't think fear would ever be a macho thing. I think that you're suppressing
macho thing is what.
Right, you're sitting on top of fear, and you're doing your machismo stuff, and you're like, I think that it's fear of the unknown, right? You rather not know than know, and then you have to deal with it.
But hold on, but when women are sick, we are quick to go to the hospital. I'm just trying to understand, what's that difference?
I think this is the African American community here is like that. They don't go to the doctors once, and again, it's a built experience that they've not trusted the medical system because of the Tuskegee experiment and things like that. But the African
man like you,
but the African man, I don't know why. And I asked. I have been there. I've been there where I have my insurance and I just will not go check. But I've had my wife has been like, dude, you're in so much pain. Get yourself to the hospital, right? And then I'll go. So now I'm at that age where I have to schedule my appointments, but I don't know what it is that is making men so fearful to catch some of these things, treat them, and we know our what we are at risk for as Black men, right? So can we catch these things early enough and treat them as opposed to catching them a lot later? That's one thing. Counseling.
But women are more courageous than men naturally.
Oh yeah.
But he's a guy.
But that's true. Women are more courageous than men. That's not a.
Sorry to have interrupted. Continue on the counseling, because I think that's something that you men really need to.
Oh, counseling is a no. See, as a Catholic in this country, you cannot get married without going through counseling, right? They put you through. I don't know if Catholics in Cameroon do it, but here they put you through counseling. And if you want to marry in a Catholic church, you go through extensive counseling. They need to make sure that this marriage, Catholics are not pro-divorce. So they make sure that you guys have all your ducks, checked and everything. But that's where the African man has his weaknesses, right? We don't want to tell our problems to a person that we don't know. We want to tell our problems to somebody that we're comfortable with, but that's not going to offer us a fix. They're just going to put a band-aid, temporary, a comfort measure, a palliative measure of sorts, right? And that's why we need conversations to tell, because if nobody's telling an African man that you need to go get yourself checked, right? You need to go to counseling before marriage, during marriage, because marriage is a tough institution.
Yes.
You understand? You have to see the signs of a problem, and then you go for counseling. Where can we wrestle this thing before? But oftentimes the woman is ready to go, but the man is not ready to go. And we need to teach men. I think that it's a teachable thing. right? Where again in our njangis, in our school meetings, that's why I don't know what these things are for, right? Okay. Because you don't have these conversations with the men in as Shessons, Bobans. When they gather, they only talk about we want to put a water foundation in the school. They don't talk about their problems.
Right.
And this,
no, I'm sorry to interrupt you. And this is something that our community desperately needs. Even for the women folk. I mean, ours ends up in gossip and just relying on mentors or big sisters and friends. But I think if we really have structures in all these alumni and structures, a council of elders, something that where we can be comfortable enough to go and seek for counseling. If we cannot afford professional counseling, it will do our community a lot of good. What do you think? And I'm going to ask this question that I'm sure you read earlier. Women say a lot, especially women who are going through a tough time in marriages or generally in life. You always hear this thing, I commit everything to God. I commit everything to God. A lot of, especially with the rise of Pentecostal churches who believe that God is the be and end all of it, which it actually is in the grand scheme of things. I'm not, but in our reality, what role do you think that religion or spirituality or faith plays in trying to address some of these mental issues that are caused by external factors?
I think that religion offers a safety net for people, right? And it's I think it's a good thing to have a safety net where somewhere where you can, if you don't have anything else, you can go back to your religion. However, you need real solutions for real problems, right? You need to be able to, there's no way that I could imagine that God is just going to come down and solve your particular problem. Mm-hmm. Understand? If you're being abused and your husband is beating you up and you're giving everything to God, what is God should exactly do? What? Touch him, make him not beat you again, because he needs to understand his actions. He needs to understand. And if God touches him to stop beating you, does that necessarily mean that he understands that he has wronged you? You understand? Like, we need to solve problems progressively. Like, when there's a problem, I must understand the problem. Mm-hmm. And then I must understand how I hurt you, and so that I don't repeat it again. I cannot just have a magic fix. I cannot just have a fix. If one day something just happens and I stop doing what I was doing before, people need to check what happened. Mm-hmm. In the West, they study the problem, right? Yeah. So you study how it started, how long did it last, what were the triggers. So there's a whole process around problem solving. So I have a problem with, I don't have a problem with evangelicals and their church, but I have a problem with the notion that God is the solution to every physical problem that they actually have.
Yeah.
You cannot pray yourself to finances. You cannot pray yourself to alienate or solve your problems. Yeah. Somebody just said in the comment section that there's counseling available in Cameroon. People just don't take care of it. One or two things. They know that there's counseling and they don't take care of it, or they don't know that there's counseling and they cannot take care of something.
We actually have a therapist joining us from Douala on here, Marie Abanga, who is a counselor. But she says people are getting more and more aware of it, actually.
And is that younger generation that is beginning to understand, and that the much older?
It's the older people instead that are actually.
I would be amazed.
Exactly, and we had this conversation, and I actually thought that's weird. They're actually waiting for the younger people to come and talk about their problems, but no, it's the older women in their 45 and above. It's the women mainly who come to have this conversation. So I think that our mothers I think our big sisters are just at this point. I think they've read enough and they're a bit more exposed to know that, you know what, this endurance, because in our Cameroonian community, and I know women agree with me or tell me if I'm wrong, it's a badge of honor if you have endured a really stressful marriage and the man has died or you're still in it, and it's a badge of honor. You're proud to say to your friends, look at her, she endured it. No matter how bad it was, she endured it, right? Am I right? Which I'm hoping that changes with this generation coming up, because no man not born picking for different man for suffer. But this is what that was our guest on the who opened the show, the psychologist. If your wife can refer you to your doctor for a physical health issue, what stops her from referring you to a counselor when he starts being aggressive? Women, help your men when you notice a change. Prevention. You have started. I complain. Go on. So the onus is on the woman. Is that what you're saying? If your man,
I guess he's saying that if the woman can refer you to your doctor, like in the case that I said that my wife, I was out there trying to be tough and wrestle the pain away, and she's like, get yourself to the hospital and stuff. I guess he's saying that if she can do that, she can also say, hey babe, we need to talk. We need to have this talk, but listen, the manner of approach. Listen, we cannot talk about mental health, right? That is all the way up there, without talking about communication. Communication has eroded the Cameroonian community, as you can attest in this little interaction. The people that don't agree with me have already canceled me out, and that's communication. You can disagree with somebody, but you still owe the person that amount of respect, right? To respectfully disagree with you and have a conversation, right? We can agree without being disagreeable, right? Now, the problem is, like I said, in our community, in our Cameroonian community, we go from a 0 to 100 in 6 seconds. There's no middle ground. There's no gray area. You understand? So all of this younger generation, like I was hoping that those are the people that would go for counseling, but you can see that they're not going for counseling. And that would tell you the breakdown, because for them, if there's a problem, just sever the cord. There's no time. I make my own money. I got my own power. I have my own this. Let's cut this cord right in the middle, right? And I could be totally wrong, but give me a reason why it's the older generation or the generation before us going and our generation is not going. And that's because we have passed the communication phase. We see a problem, and the only thing to solve this problem is to cut it off. And I see all of that advice every day. If you're in an abusive relationship, just break up and go and let it. That is one solution. But another solution is probably go for counseling. Not every abusive situation. Some abusive situations are rescued, right? And everybody, the man learns that you're not supposed to be beating a woman. You're not supposed to beat anybody for that matter. Not a man, not a woman.
Mute me because I'm on another. I think this is what Clementine is saying: communication and understanding. In her circle, we look out for one another. Well, you've been saying that repeatedly in the comments. Communication. She's been banging on communication. So, guys, I mean, this not Tracy can cover this conversation. I know that it's been quite heated in the comments, and I love that, because we need to tell each other those hard truths to be able to grow, because we are here, we are in the rut right now in our community. How do we get out of the rut? If we don't say these hard truths and we don't listen, and we're going to stay in that rut for longer than we would like to. So I know it's been heated, and I know that it's an hour and a half, and we should be getting on with it, because I was saying this conversation cannot be more than an hour and a half. But I'm going to push it another 10 minutes so that we come to some amicable agree to disagree conclusion, right? But I wanted to read this comment. I'll take it off because it covers your face. Gosh, I can't. I think Mary is responding to other people. Ignorance should not be a taboo in a society. We are so scared to be seen as ignorant in our ignorance. That feeds into our fear. Let's communicate more and stop the shaming that leads the weak into a dark place. Let's stop the bullying on social media and encourage more people to talk about their differences and difficulties freely. And I think this is what we're doing here on the Women Experience tonight. A lot of us have preconceived ideas. A lot of us have, you can see that I keep using the word resentment. A lot of us hold a lot of resentment towards men in this regard. But I really, again, wanted us women to, and the men, but mainly for the women, since again, a lot of these things have been perpetrated by the men. Let's just try to understand why. Let us try to understand why. And I think that Trace is a very modern man, a very, very, very modern man. Kudos to you for that, though, because you have been able to really, that's like doing a 360 on culture, on all those things that weigh the traditional African man down. So I give you kudos for that, to be that open and that willing to change. But I hope that the other men are listening to some of the things you're saying. And even if they do disagree with you, they are listening and can take something from this to be able to impact and change their own environment and their own home. Because otherwise, again, we stay in that stalemate, and this is not what we want. One of the last things I was going to ask you is, and I know you're a father, and I know you're a husband, and you're raising young children, but you have said in terms of job opportunities, what you would advise your daughters. But as a father to daughters, a girl's dad, like Kobe Bryant, what kind of man, this is, you may not do that in reality, but if you were to do it, what kind of man would you advise your daughter to marry?
Man, that's a tough question, because I want to teach my daughters respect. I don't want to guide them to the kind of man that, I don't know, they don't have their mother's taste, of course. So they cannot have a man like me. That would be different. So they need to be able to figure out their own taste, right? And I want to give them a foundation of what they will not settle for. They need to know their worth, right? They need to, first of all, love themselves and understand that a man is only an addition, and a man does not come into their world to change their world or restructure it. They need to have all of this, but they need to understand that they need a partner to grow, because we all learned that 2 hands tie a bundle of firewood faster, right? So I don't want to shape their vision on, I want a man, you want a man who's this, you want a man who respects you, right? And I am hoping that when they have a certain age, I take them out on dates. My second one, I'll take her out on dates so she understands how a man should treat a woman. And incidentally, she should see how I treat her mother and expect that in return. And hope by that time it hasn't changed, because also the way I saw my mom treat my dad, I was hoping to get that. But then I met a modern woman who doesn't do that. So you can see how training her now, and in 15 years, things might have changed. Because I was hoping that, my dad comes back from work, my mom sets the table, drives all of us away, and it's the whole process. My dad washes his hand. I was growing up seeing all of this, and I was like, man, I want to marry a woman like my mother. But when I became a man, I met a woman that was nothing like my mother. Chop them apart, go take them. You understand, right? And I'm sitting there now like, God dang, can somebody put the food on my plate? Can I at least have my own plate, that this is Papa's plate, and have my section on the table? But no, that's fairy tale. And that's only 15 years ago. That was 20 years ago. So I don't want to shape that same, I don't want to create that environment for my daughter, because she would meet the same problems that and then she has to start adjusting, or they have to start adjusting. So as they grow, understand, know your needs, know your wants, know what you want. And then hopefully you find that in a man, but don't create, like the mistake most of our sisters do is create a man and then have the opposite of that, what you created. And then you're angry at every man.
Okay. Okay, Tres. Okay, Tres. Afua is saying, well said. Stop shaming and bullying in real life as well. We should listen more and judge less. I'm going to read a few comments. People are laughing at Papa Ipan. Cyprian says she even told you chop there for pot. Some don't even care. You're not serious. Cyprian. Now you get for even cook safe.
I'll burn the house if I try that.
Clementine says, I have 3 girls and 2 boys. I tell my girls to know their self-worth and learn to be respectful, independent women. I tell my sons to respect and love women. Siri is saying, only to later find out. Oh, I think she's responding to something. I'm just going to read a few more comments so people know that their voices were heard. A lot of people are actually responding to some conversations that are going on in the comment. Elliot says, great words of wisdom, praise. Tessie, what are you asking? What do you mean by modern Goretti? Modern in the terms of, like he said, he's comfortable with letting his woman help him when he's down. So that tells me that, okay, you guys probably have a great conversation, an open conversation in your communication, rather, not conversation. You have an open communication in your home. Your wife earns more than you, and you're comfortable with that, and you still carry yourself as a man. That to me is a modern man, because that plays with a lot of self-esteem. There are a lot of domestic abuse homes, a few that I know, not a lot, a few that I know that's one of the reasons why there's been abuse. And then, so all of those that's the modern man to me, Tessie.
And let me add, when I was flying out of here, she dropped me at the airport and she said, baby, don't forget my hair.
Mm-hmm.
And I took my card, I gave it to her. And that woman makes more money than me. But I still have to buy her hair so that I'm happy in my house. And I think, look, I don't do that to show off. I think that she deserves it. You understand? I think that she deserves everything. She decided to marry me.
Yeah, and you're not an easy guy going by what we're saying.
No. I'm not easy at all. Trust me.
Women, remain positive and know your worth. Love yourselves and remain powerhouses that you all are. And Ethel is saying, I think we need to be open-minded to understand each other. Oh gosh, I think I've lost the comments.
A lot of what everybody's saying is that we must listen to each other.
Yeah. Isai, some abusive situations can be rescued, true, but let death not meet us while we are with rescue. That's me. If you're in an abusive relationship, my advice is always run. That's my advice. I know that really is my advice.
And we need to stop this abuse. Like, we need to be able to stop it. Like, there's no grounds for you to put your hands on anybody. I for the life of me, I cannot understand. I'm trying to understand the justification of how you're able to slap a woman.
Maybe he saw his dad slap his mom. Maybe
there's that study here that people who grew up in abuse.
We'll talk about that. That's something we're going to talk about in the future. We're actually working on that. So we will really talk about abuse. Let's not minimize it here because it's too broad a topic, just like mental health, to just deal with it like that. But in conclusion, and for those who are joining us, a few people have joined us quite late. We have been here an hour and 45 minutes, and I thank everyone that's been watching and contributing. And yeah, and we needed that, like Ethel says, we need to be open to understand each other. And I think this is what we've tried to do here tonight. So I thank you for that. I thank you for your communications. Again, this is the last part of this series. And when we started by understanding the triggers. We started with Mr.
Tangy.
With Mr. Tangy, who is on Facebook as Psycho Blast. That's if you type Psycho PSYCO Blast, you would see that picture, and he's a cognitive psychologist, and he's open to you if you need to talk. He's into talk therapy. So we started with him, and he taught us about the functions of the brain and how emotions are formed and how they finally are manifested physically and how they affect our behavior. And then we had Mr. Ndoko Sankara, who came again to understand where some of our beliefs, how some of our beliefs were formed, and we took it way back, and we blamed we didn't blame, but we were able to relate it to colonialism. We were able to relate it to quite a lot of cultural beliefs. And then on Wednesday we had so we had Cyril on Friday, and then on Wednesday we had Mag, who is a psychotherapist and lawyer as well, and who just really came to be blunt about how these things happen, and not to blame. Definitely don't blame the woman, but what to do if you find yourself in such situations, what the law says about it as well, and all of that. And we had a really frank conversation, and we wanted to conclude it tonight with what we've had tonight, the difficult conversation with the right man, or in some people's opinions, the worst person I could have brought for this conversation. But I am glad that you are that controversial, because we've learned a lot. I have learned a lot. You have been speaking. I disagree with probably 80% of what you said when you started, but I listened. Because I want a better community, and I want a better home, a better understanding of my friends, my husband, my sons, who knows. So I'm really glad that I did. And I thank you for that. So why did we have the conversation the way we did today? We needed to understand what all this, we know that our men are ego driven. That's the African man. That's the Cameroonian man that I know. That's how they are raised. They are raised to be some kind of kings, even among sisters. Yes, if you get one son, hey, one eye. Like, that's how our men are raised. That's our truth. And so I really wanted to understand how these external factors that you face in this modern world affect your mental health. And so that, again, tying it to what Mr. Tanya said, so that we can begin to see, all right, this is why he's behaving this way. This is why he's behaving this way. This is, oh, he's lost his job. Oh, this is how he will feel about it. Oh, this is what we've been able to have today. I'm so grateful that you guys contributed so well. In conclusion, Grace, what would you want to say to all those who disagree with a lot of the things you said, and then on the B side, what do you want to say to those who agree with some of the things you said?
Well, I hope I was able to have a conversation. It was hard. I was looking at the comments right next to me. To some of the people that disagree with me, I know we're going to carry this over onto Facebook with them disagreeing with me still. And I hope I was able to convince some of the people to come on board to see the vision, because like I said, I don't want to see it. I understand the history. I have sisters, I have a mother, I have friends who have undergone terrible things, and I don't want to see that for anybody. But I want to see a prosperous world. I want to see a world where we are all pushing, right? We want to succeed together. We are hungry. So I want to see a lot of my friends who disagree with me thinking that I'm an anti-feminist should understand why I say the things I do. I believe in the potential of women immensely, because I've seen a woman calm me down. A woman was able to say, hey, I see on Facebook, fly for year. So
yeah.
Well, yeah, so
miss this.
Yes. And so for the people who were able to listen to me and pick up something, I want for those who are married, I want them to take this home. Your husband or your wife should be your best friend.
Yeah.
At my wedding, I called my friends up, my lawyer friends at the wedding, and they can attest. There were 4 of them. I called them up, and I was like, guys, well, as you can see, today is the last day that I'm your friend, because I found me a new friend. That's the speech I made at my wedding, right? Not that they're not going to be my friends again. It's just that my wife is my best friend now. I tell her everything. She tells me everything. You understand? But I still have my relationship with my friends. And oftentimes when you see these relationships that decay, you can see that they're just two individuals that live together.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? And we should be able to find a friendship, because when the sex is gone, when that beauty and that makeup is gone, if that friendship is not there,
when the children are gone,
even if they're there, and when they're gone, because
yeah.
there are young people right now having all of these problems, which means the children are still within the ages of baby and 10 years old, right? But let's figure out a way where we can have our conversations. We can laugh at our flaws, right? You can gossip with your wife. Let me whisper, right? Your wife can gossip, be like, see that people them. Yeah, you should be able to have this thing. You should laugh at each other's faults, and you should be comfortable in the presence of each other. If you have a flaw, you should not be ashamed as a man. Say, baby, say my belly on BK, which have you do for lost this belly? You understand? You guys laugh about it, and then you set up a program. You cannot have your wife working in isolation to lose weight. If your wife is on a mission to lose weight, be a part of that mission. If your husband is on something, be a part of everything that your husband does. Husband, be a part of everything that your wife does. And that's how we create an environment where we can communicate. Because when we cannot communicate, all we see is our flaws. And all your flaws just trigger me. They drive me crazy.
Yes, so true.
You understand? There are people who marry women that don't go to the kitchen and they're happy.
Yeah.
There are people who marry men that cannot make babies and they're happy. But the outside society is like, that man need born, that woman need born. And then we are the ones putting problems into a relationship that is otherwise happy. So we should start with us. We should look at us, have a reflection of us, and then we should be ultimately our brother's keepers. If you are in an association that you guys don't talk about our problems, that association is useless.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, me too. I agree 100% on that. Like, well,
so all of those schools and tradition have a counselor, have a speaker to come talk on the issues, so that the men should learn, because men need to do a lot of learning. Women have had empowerment sessions. Women continue to get empowered, and they're coming back to men that have been stagnant.
Yeah.
You understand? So if you go to get a bachelor's degree, get a master's degree, get a PhD degree, and then you come back and you're looking at the same man still sitting on the couch and playing a video game, it's never going to be the same.
Not just even with the academics. I mean, you just open your mind and empower yourself in different ways, and intellectually, and then you come back and you're still stuck with the man who is waiting for you to serve him food from the serve him.
Exactly. So the world is changing. Men must understand. It's a must. It's not even a question. Men, we must understand that the women that we date, that we're married to, are not our mothers. Right? They're not gonna cook and wash your food and wash your undies. Some women might do it, but the average woman you're gonna meet is gonna be a goal-getter, right? They're the ones that want to be pampered and stuff. There are women that come in every variation, but you just best believe, condition your mind that you're gonna meet a woman who has dreams, who has aspirations, who wants to accomplish stuff, and you want to be the runway on which she can run off and go, and take off and fly. And don't be that man, because you're going to bring this mental issue when you're trying to control her. She has to be this way. She has to be that way. You understand? So I think that men have a lot of work to do. And I think we as men need to lead the way. We need to have these conversations, right? So I'm also setting up a panel with Cham. I was hoping that he would be on this, where we would talk to men. We would have a men's conversation, a men's corner, where we're not only talking about porn and all kinds of crazy stuff, but we're talking about real issues. Because men are often easily carried out with little distractions, right? Once you throw a naked girl somewhere, bam, that conversation has changed, right? So we need to stay driven. We need to stay on mission. It's a daunting task, but I think it's a fight that needs to be fought to get our men to the standard where our women are currently right now. Because our women have left us behind.
Okay, so you still want to punch stress? that's a beautiful note to end it on. And I really thank you. You've spoken so well. Oh gosh, I really wanted to read this Enos comment where he said it is sexy for a man to cook nowadays. So men, cook for your women.
I do make poulet DG. That's the only thing I know how to do. And beans, I know beans. Yes.
You know beans. That's
And
good. What is that? I
yes,
saw that
yes,
before.
yes. When she travels, I cook.
You can cook poulet.
But yes, men should cook. It's actually sexy. I wear an apron, nice booty shorts, and cook. Make it appealing.
Someone else said in the comments that women, if your man is in the kitchen, don't step your foot there because you have too many opinions and it drives men crazy. I saw that.
Baby, you don't put garlic. I'm not sure that chop. How you cut that tomato fat so?
But that's good. Which question did I skip, Tessie? Anyway, there are just too many questions. I'm going back and forth and I'm really rushing. But I thank you. Even if Goretti jump and pass, I'm keeping it real. Tessie, what's the question? Type it again, please, so I can see it this time. But I just want to thank you, Therese. It's been a great conversation. I've loved every minute of it. I don't know about you all. If you haven't, let's meet again. Let's continue to have these conversations until we can all love them. So don't keep it too long. You have 1 minute because it's 10 o'clock to say goodbye to your guest.
Thank you, and thank you for everybody. Everybody has poured out their emotions. Thank you for those people that disagree with me. I leave for the people that disagree with me because my fight is to make them see reality. I appreciate the people who listened and actually liked some of the things that I said. We'll continue this conversation on Facebook. And thank you, Goretti, for having me on the Women's Experience. It's actually amazing to share a platform with you. So thank you for having me. And let's make it another day.
Indeed. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm just going to send you backstage and while I round up with this. So
sure thing.
Don't leave, just stay. Guys, wow. And Tessie, sorry, I can't see that conversation. Even if Goretti jump and pass, I'm keeping it real. I know you are always keeping it real, and I thank you for that. And I thank every single person who stayed till the end. I didn't know you guys, we didn't intend to take an hour, 2 hours, but I think it was a very worthy conversation. It was something that needed to be said, and Therese was just the perfect man for us. 11 p.m. German time. Eunice, I appreciate you, darling. Thank you so much. Now, after this, you go get a cup of tea and something and go to bed. But I thank you. Thank you very much, Rosemary. Thank you so much for all of you who enjoyed it. Please, this brings us to the end of the mental health series within the community. And it was, again, all of that, just so that we understand some of those things that trigger our men, who are most times the perpetrators of violence against women. But we're going to have a conversation. We're going to have another series on domestic violence, which we're working on behind the scenes. But with that, we would also acknowledge that men are also victims of domestic violence. We cannot deny that. It is a fact. So we're going to, again, talk about it from all angles. So I thank you for that. I really thank you. I thank you for staying, especially those of you, my core tribe, who have been from the beginning and who are still here today. You all are the best, honestly. After this, now one man. But I really thank you. We'll continue on Wednesday. Obviously, the mental health series is done. We'll take a break. We'll revisit that. But I just want to thank you. What I've learned tonight is this: let's not be afraid of having these uncomfortable conversations throughout all of this thing. Let's not be afraid of to have these conversations. They are very important to push our community forward. They're very important to help us to understand each other. We are opposite sexes. We are different in every single way. I don't know if I consider myself a feminist, but I know that I acknowledge the difference physically, culturally, and emotionally of a man and a woman, between a man and a woman. I acknowledge that, and I do not. I'm an egalitarian like Therese, but I also know the challenges. I'm very aware of the challenges that we face as the female sexes in this world, which is a man's world, but we're working really hard to make it an equal world. So I thank you for that, and I thank you. I hope I'm going to see you on Wednesday. Please don't forget to like our page, follow our page, The Goretti Experience. Don't forget to, I always upload every episode on YouTube, The Goretti Experience. So if you can subscribe on my page, on my YouTube page, I appreciate you. And if you have family that are not on YouTube, you can get the conversation off YouTube and share. And for our mothers, because I have a tribe of mothers who always watch this show after it airs, who are not on Facebook, they watch it via YouTube. I just want to thank you, mummies, for all your blessings and all your prayers. I appreciate you, and I want you to share this video. If you like it, share it to your family and friends. So thank you. God bless you. Good night, and we'll see you again on Wednesday with another interesting guest. So on the Woman Experience with moi. Enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye.